Good morning, everybody. So, guys, today is Tuesday, I think, and there is something that is bothering me. Well, the mainstream media has finally caught up on the cabinet decision on the immigration white paper. So they're talking about it a lot. I mean, since yesterday, when I was, paging through whenever I woke up from my medication, and I would see mainstream media interviewing the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs. I think his name is Njabulo. Okay, fine. Everything that he's saying, I'm okay with it, especially when it comes to refugees and asylum seekers, when it also comes to permanent residency and merit-based system, biometrics to make sure that the people that are coming into our country are recorded so that we know their movement in and out of South Africa. I have no issue with that. As a matter of fact, it's something that we should have done a very long time ago. And as I'm also listening to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, it's becoming apparent that using pen and paper for documentation has been a deliberate thing in government so that it opens an opportunity to be corrupt versus when you digitalize things, because digitally there will always be a backup and there's also digital footprint. So if anybody tries to be corrupt and maybe they thought they have corrupted the system, there will always be a backup, and there will also be like a firewall or some sort. All those technology terminologies that bore me to living daylight. So they do this deliberately by handwriting things so that they can be corrupt. And it's 30 years later, guys, since 1994. 32 years, actually. And I believe that, yes, as a young country back then in the 90s, we may be still finding our feet when it comes to international law. Remember, we were sanctioned and blocked out from the rest of the world. We couldn't participate in anything. And now that the world has opened to us and we now part of the global community, obviously we are going to come across your Geneva Conventions, we are going to come across your Berlin agreements, and you name it, whatever, all that stuff that we were chucked out of. And I understand that we would be learning things and putting systems as well that might be a win or a lose. And it looks like we've been putting systems to lose. And then if you look back at the ministers of Home Affairs themselves, education, maybe Naledi Pandor was an exception to the rule, but the rest from Ngonde Balfour failed the people of South Africa, failed us when Home Affairs was under him. Was it his wife? No, Ngonde Balfour was Minister of Sports. Sorry. Even there too, he messed up our sports. And I think I have told that story before. If you want to hear it again, please let me know how he took away sporting opportunities from South Africans. Basketball, baseball, American football, all that sort of stuff, and more actually, even tennis, to promote soccer. If you are interested in that, let me know, because I'm still bitter about it to this very day. Anyways, it was the wife, Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula. Okay, where am I? No, Mapisa Ngakula was the wife. You see, okay, it's medication. Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula is Charles Ngakula's wife. Charles Ngakula, who was the Minister of Safety and Security, today it's called the police, he too failed us because the influx of illegal foreigners, not only influx of them, but the worst of the worst of people that were running away from their countries to South Africa in the mid-90s, late 90s, were under Charles Ngakula. And the wife at that time was Minister of Home Affairs. So now you have to look also. Shame. I begunsim. That's all I'm going to say. It was tough because Home Affairs got corrupted under, I believe, heavily by Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula when Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma became the Minister of Home Affairs in the Zuma administration. That would be probably 10 years later. You know what she did? What her name? Nkosazana Dlamini. She would do surprise visits to Home Affairs officers because corruption at that point was so rife. It was out of this world. So she had to do surprise visits and arrest and fire Home Affairs officials because of corruption. I remember very well, my mom and I had gone to Pietermaritzburg because my late sister was born in Edendale. So she needed to do her ID so that she can register for matric in 2 years. In South Africa, I think you start taking your ID at 16, and she just turned 16. So we went to Home Affairs. Home Affairs said, oh, you have to prove it that this is our child, meaning she's a South African citizen. So obviously the only way to prove this is to go to the records in the hospital. I remember going to Edendale. They put us in the dungeon, literally a dungeon where they kept the archives. And fortunately, because we are D, we didn't have to go that far. And also because D is not too far on the box that we found full of Ds. I think she was number 3. And when we took that, her file, went upstairs, made copies, returned back to the dungeon and put it back in the archives. And then I think we paid 75 Rand or something like that. And her ID then was made. So Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma came to surprise. It was a big surprise. Everybody was like, oh, the minister is here. And literally, when I say literally, even the lady that was helping us, she was chewing gum. It sat here without her even realizing that, I don't know if she was scared or I don't know, whatever. But anyways, we went out there okay, we had arrived at 3 a.m, but we were out of there by 8:30. One of the complaints the South Africans had about Home Affairs is that we come there at 3 a.m. and then we leave at 4 p.m. Sometimes we don't even get served because the Home Affairs officials, they'll be chewing gum and eating. And the moment you complained, they say, Hambiele, go there, or start from scratch, because they're punishing you as if they were doing us a favor. But tell me why. By 9, all of us were like this. We were cleared. Not because we were asked to leave. That's because we were served. So all that mess was created in the Mapisa-Nqakula era. Now, of course, that's how many years into democracy, 15 or something. But still, you can't tell me 15 years later, you are still learning the ropes when now Home Affairs officials seben namakhanda makhulu, big-headed. They're taking bribes and all of that stuff. But on the international front, illegal foreigners also saw an opportunity to start coming in. Remember, the FIFA World Cup was in 2010, and most of these people waited for that opportunity to come to South Africa in droves. They come in with visitors visa or FIFA, whatever visa, but they never left, most of whom were Nigerians and Zimbabweans. So those people today, the 2010 as I call them, most of them are South African citizens today through, of course, nefarious ways, either fake marriage, or fake marriage also included a South African lady who has absolute no idea that she's been married until when she actually finds a husband and it's time to get married, she finds out at Home Affairs that, sorry, Cece, you are married already. And she'll be like, to who? And then they give her husband's name. It is Ameka Obogyaye. You are Miss Obogyaye. And she'll be like, hell to the no. I am not married. This is the guy I'm marrying. And then that's how her life is ruined. Because Home Affairs, with all that corruption, they still would not help you. There were people whose identity documents or identity numbers stolen. And then the original owner is told that, oh, the records on Home Affairs are showing us that you're dead. You died a couple years ago. Why? Because an illegal foreigner stole a South African person's identity, and because they come from countries that have diseases and then they die in South Africa, and because they're holding a South African ID that which is not theirs, then they are registered as dead. And then a South African whose ID was stolen can't open a bank account, can't find a job, can't do anything because they are dead, according to Home Affairs. The mess that we've been through because of these people is beyond measures. So the point that I'm trying to make here is what I'm hearing from the deputy minister is that, oh, because sure, he was asked a question, why now? What took so long to put things into perspective when it comes to national security as well as Home Affairs itself? He was like, well, he's giving excuses basically. And his excuses, they are quite patronizing to me. He is basically taking the high horse and looking down on our intelligence by explaining instead of saying, yeah, there we dropped the ball. No accountability. Yes, I know he's under GNU, but he's still the Minister of Home Affairs, and that question needs to appease us. What actually went wrong? But us who were paying attention, we know what went wrong. We do. And I hope those Home Affairs officials that have done this, they never get rest. Ever. When I say never get rest, I mean the punishment that is bestowed on them. They never get rest from it. Because a lot of South Africans suffered because of them. Now, that's the excuse that was making me upset and that made me actually sit down and make this video. Actually, there are two things that I heard from him. He was asked about ZEP. ZEP. I think it has something to do with Zimbabweans and them allowed to stay here and work in South Africa while Zimbabwe is having economic situations. And that ZEP was instituted under the Jacob Zuma administration, if I'm not mistaken, either 2017 or 18. How long ago was Jacob Zuma's tenure, by the way? About 10 years ago? Yeah. So when it was extended, and I did say that this is to give the Zimbabweans who have ZEP the opportunity to even take South Africa to court and say, I've been in South Africa for within the legal bounds of a person being here to become a permanent resident. Of course, this overhaul of the immigration law through the white paper that we are now busy with, they will argue retrospective, not introspective. They're going to argue on retrospective laws of the country where it allows them that if you are in South Africa for 5 years, you automatically qualify to become, or you become eligible to become a permanent resident. And we are going to be seeing a lot of those applications in court from 2027. Why 2027? Because between, let's say ZEP was instituted in 2017 to 2027, that is enough time, as well as winnable cases for those ZEP holders to say, South Africa has now become my home, and I've got children in South Africa, and South Africa is the only home they've known. That is why I suspect it was expanded. Which is quite funny as well, because over the weekend, the DA, Democratic Alliance, went to its elective Congress, where the premier of Western Cape came out the victor, meaning the president, or I don't know what they call it in the DA. And he made a promise that South Africans should vote for the DA and give DA 1 year to clean out the country. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And he knows it. He knows that that's not going to happen. Why he knows that's not going to happen? Because having ZAP owners as well as illegal foreigners, it is in favor of the constituency, who are business people who want maximum profit. And in order to get that maximum profit, they need exploitation, basically slaves to work for their businesses. And they will not be happy to hear that the DA would actually send them back home in droves and clean out the country. It's a lie. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. Right now, the word of the day is illegal foreigners. Get them out, get them out, get them out. That is the voter that is saying that. And to appease the voter, in his acceptance speech, he needed to drop that and get us all excited. I'm sorry, I did not buy it. Because the national chair, who also happens to be the Iron Lady of the DA, Miss Helen Ziller. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I should pull out some, maybe next, I will put it into a shorts and let you hear what she said about illegal foreigners in South Africa. Pretty much the same language that Julius Malema has been throwing around. So with her still around, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And she will remind Leon, whatever his name is, that our constituency is not going to be happy with us. Anyways, so I foresee court battles with ZAP holders in 2027 when it expires, because legally speaking, it does give them legitimacy to go claim permanent residency. Now, I did not hear how that is going to be dealt with by the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs. He did not give any concrete answers, and I feel like it is something that needs to be put in the final, because it's a white paper right now, and now that is approved by cabinet, it's now moving into be turned into a bill, a parliamentary bill. And then once it turns into a parliamentary bill, of course, we're going to have, once again, we're going to participate in public consultations. Hopefully they are going to have public consultations, because there are some things that I'm not hearing in this particular law that they're going to put together, which is the third thing. Children born of a foreign national and a South African national. Right now, the law says the child automatically becomes a South African citizen. And if they are going to ignore what we are saying, that a child belongs to the father, period. The child belongs to a father. And that is why, contra lesser, I haven't heard them say anything thus far. And they are going to put us in trouble. But mostly, they are going to put those kids in trouble, because I foresee those children getting discriminated on. And they will suffer greatly. They will be prejudiced by law. They will be prejudiced by public. They will be prejudiced everywhere. And the only thing they will be reduced to, if they are lucky, is private sector. The moment South Africans are good investigators, by the way. FBI lives with South Africans, as far as I'm concerned. They will dig the background of that kid. And the moment they find out that the kid's father is a Nigerian or a Zimbabwean or some foreign national, that child's opportunities are flown through the window. So to protect them from feeling outcasted, and there's a word that I'm looking for. There's a word that I'm looking, which is appropriate. Not shunned. Maybe shunned as well might work. But there's a particular word that comes with opportunities that will be taken away from that child that I'm looking for. And if you are not going to cover that part when it comes to birthright citizenship, you are going to put those children in trouble, unfortunately, because obviously they, in their heads, they believe they are South Africans, and therefore they have a right to contest for Miss South Africa, that Mr. South Africa, run for council, run for members of parliament, members of provincial legislatures, even running for president of the Republic of South Africa. In their head, they believe that. But to protect them from that, we need to put a clause, just like everywhere else on the African continent. That clause exists. That clause exists. That also includes people that are permanent residents. Don't give them that, because the moment there's a lacuna, meaning there's a gap there that is not filled and defined, then we're in trouble. If you go to the United States of America as a permanent resident, you can run for office, the lower offices, including member of Congress, but you can't run for president. There it's clear. If you are a permanent resident, you can't run for president. You have to be a natural-born American. So if we're not going to cover all these loopholes, then we are going to be on each other's throats. Being on each other's throats is not going to end. So in Zulu, we say, "Ingqume emsileni." Ingqume emsileni. What now? So it don't become a problem tomorrow type of situation. I don't know. Those are the three things that I picked up in this interview that suddenly mainstream media is running with. We discussed about this about 2-3 weeks ago, because the decision was done on the 25th of March. We got news of it around the 1st of April. Today, it is the 14th of April. So that was 2 weeks ago when we covered it. And I was hoping that the mainstream media would ask tough questions, the exact things that I just spoke about. These three things. Very important that that gap is closed, and also potential court cases are averted, because we are the taxpayers, they're going to pay for those court cases. And from what I understand, ZAP holders, there are about 250,000 of them. Imagine 250,000 court cases. We're talking hundreds of billions of rands here. So ingqume emsileni with that one. Singqume emsileni, and we need to define what ZAP was for. And it was not a gateway for citizenship. It got to be clear. It's got to, introspectively and retrospectively. Very important. I don't know, what are you guys thinking? Because I like to hear what you guys are thinking when it comes to the protection of our country. Guys, I also want to answer this question. I see a lot of people, I think I've answered it before in the comments. People have the tendency of saying, "Oh, you talk a lot. Why aren't you on the streets? Why aren't you like Ophakela Umthakathi, Ongizwe Mchunu, Jacinta, and all that?" I've explained this before, how activism works. And I don't think I want to repeat myself on that one. Trust me, all the people that you've mentioned, they are highly supported by me. But if they said, "Clentus, we need you on the streets," I'm not going to argue. I will go to the streets. I will look awkward, that's for sure, but I will be there with them. Anyways, let me leave this video right here. Thank you all so much. Please, whatever you do, enjoy your Tuesday. The only thing that's left for me is my throat. My throat, it's still sore, but I'm getting fine. I'm getting okay. I'm no longer getting fevers. I'm no longer coughing profusely. Headaches are gone. What else that was bothering me? Coughing a lot. Also gone. So I feel much better. It's just my throat. And I ate so many strepsils, so much so that a blister grew in. Even right now as I'm talking, there's a blister in my throat. It makes me feel like there is something that's dangling, and I try to swallow and it's not going. Don't eat too much strepsils. Don't eat too much. As I'm laughing, it's going. Wow, guys, Anyways, I'll talk to you guys. Well, let's see what happens. Oh yeah, Sergeant Gosi's bail application was postponed to the 20th of April. I guess that will be a decision. Is it gonna get bail though? And if it does get bail, we need to go to my proposal. Remember my proposal? Let's start charging them R1,000,000 bail. That way we also get to follow where the money is coming from if it's paid. Okay. I finally, goodbye. Goodbye.